Welcome back to NBA Cinema. So we have to have a brief discussion about what's going on in Phoenix with Bradley Beal and Yusuf Nurkic going to the bench ahead of the trade deadline just next month, February the 6th. We already know what's going on with Jimmy Butler suspended 7 games. And, Pat Riley and the Heat said they would bring Jimmy back after he served the suspension if nothing materializes. But Beal is one of those guys, one of those players that intrigues the Miami Heat. Um, and a few other teams because they feel like although Bill has had some injuries and it hasn't worked out with him, KD and Booker, they feel like it's just not a match with those three players rather than Bill can't play at all. And Bradley Bill would be willing to waive his no trade clause according to Evan Sittering to join either the Clippers, Heat, Lakers, or Nuggets. And the Suns are in active pursuit of Jimmy Butler right now. So that would obviously involve uh, Bradley Bill and Jimmy swap, which the money works. Now Jimmy can opt into his player option next year and all that type of stuff too for 52.4 million, but that's around the ballpark of what Bill will be getting over the course of the next few seasons as well. But he's a tad bit younger and probably could help the Miami Heat, somewhat. They still will have to make more moves because that leadership thing that Jimmy brought whenever he was playing. But again, we know what happens. Older players, still want that contract. Pat Riley saying no. And it's been some people going off on Pat Riley. We're about to get into those clips. Let's check it out.
We are Showtime. You're nobody. He was right.
Yeah.
He moved to the Knicks. He ain't doing nothing. He moved to Miami, right? He got Shaq. He got Dwayne Wade. He came and got Shaquille O'Neal. Then they brung a whole bunch of other players to help win. You can't pretend you that guy. It's them.
Listen.
You're not bigger than them.
Yeah.
You're pretending you are.
Did you see the interview?
They left. LeBron came. They won a championship. You can't pretend you're bigger than LeBron. LeBron leaves, this shit crashes. Jimmy Butler comes, he gets you to the championship. If he tells you, bring me one more star, motherfucker, bring him one more star.
Yep.
Because if he can get you to the championship with this, bring me one more star, I got you. So for you to pretend that you are the Heat culture and you can do this, you're lying.
Yeah.
Because when he leaves, motherfucker, nobody's coming there.
I got these.
Nobody's coming to. You got South Beach in your favor.
Yes.
And you treat South Beach like it's a fucking prison.
The number one reason for divorce is money. It's finances. It's the number one reason people get divorced. The number one reason that people go from loving to hating is divorce. From love to hate. I will get to the macro criticisms that everyone wants of Pat Riley. He has absolutely failed over the last decade in a way that cannot be argued to get Jimmy Butler better help that he needed. He has been cursed by the fact, and Jimmy Butler was too, they're very good at making overachievers. But what do overachievers do? They achieve to the maximum of what their ceiling is, and Jimmy Butler's was never better than it was here. It was a spectacular relationship. It worked while it lasted. Jimmy Butler bailed Pat Riley out of Whiteside and Waiters. Of Whiteside and Waiters, Jimmy Butler covered a lot of it over the last 5 years for the Heat. Spoelstra covered a lot of shit for the Heat, but also Jimmy Butler was the best Jimmy Butler here, and no one in the history of the Heat other than LeBron, has done more for themselves by virtue of coming through the land of overachievers. When you carry Max Strus and Vincent to the finals, you get rewarded for that. So we will get to the criticism of the moment because I know Heat fans are mad, and they should be because they've been passed in the conference by a whole bunch of people who are more aggressive, and we all saw how close Boston and Miami were. We saw the changes Boston made, and we've seen Kyle Lowry. We've seen very little since Chris Bosh had to leave the team other than getting Jimmy Butler. And so what ends up happening to the Miami Heat, we all know more than ever the last 5 years, They're great at making players better. We know it in a way that we don't really know it about any other team. Wow, I've seen for 5 years how they've got a bunch of overachievers. But the blessing is now the curse, because the overachievers, look at who they are. Show me all the high draft picks, because all those players are at their ceilings. I know Bam's been terrible this year, but Tyler and Jimmy and Duncan, they're all of them at what is their drafted ceilings. Like, they're the best that they can be. They can't be any better than that. That's what the Heat do for you. Pat Riley gets credit for that. He gets credit for the culture, for Spo and all that stuff. But he has failed to get Jimmy Butler what he needed, and this is punctuational disaster at the end, because now his value is nuked, and he got checkmated by player empowerment, which is something that began to happen in 2014 when LeBron surprised him and left. And everything that's happened with player power since ends with Jimmy Butler being able to say, hey, Pat, bleep off. I've got the players union behind me. You didn't give me my extension. I've been upset about this for a while. I've been upset and I've been quiet, but now I want my money. And I understand why anyone in America who watches basketball would get mad at Jimmy Butler. What do you mean you got no joy for basketball at this $50 million because you need the next $50 million? Like, what do you mean you've got no joy for basketball on a contract when you're already being paid $50 million?
So, Jimmy wanting another star, it really, I definitely understand that, right? As much as we love Bam, he's a high-end utility guy. He's not necessarily the type of star I'm talking about is one who can go get you buckets, and um yeah, Bam can get you big defensive stops and things like that, but he cannot go be that dog on the offensive end night in and night out to help lead you to a championship. So that's what Jimmy was speaking to, and there's nothing wrong with that as a player. I just think, whenever Miami would talk about these sorts of things, they would say, pair Bam and Jimmy together, and they were content on that being enough, and just finding second rounders, undrafted players who were really good and plugging them, to was it Caleb Martin, um, also Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, those type of players, putting those guys around who knew how to play basketball, but when you came up against a team like a Denver, you couldn't compete, and I think the only reason they were able to compete is because Boston, taking all those bad shots, all those bad threes, and Miami valued their possessions a lot better, played smarter basketball, and they just beat teams playing smarter basketball. But they ran into a talented team that played smart basketball. They always, didn't look like they belonged, and that's exactly what happened when they got to the Denver Nuggets. But Jimmy's been hurt over the better part of the last 3 seasons, just coasting through the regular season. And last year it came to a head though because he got injured um, in a big game where they were going to try to sneak in, try to play into that eighth spot, and really just upset teams. But it comes a point where you kind of want your team to win home court advantage and really start to play like you belong, not just underdogging everybody every year, because that's going to bite you. And so Jimmy hasn't been as healthy, but he wants that maximum extension, which I cannot blame Pat Riley for that. And will anybody give Jimmy that maximum extension is going to be the question. I don't think so. Um, that would be wild just with his knee issues and all that. But yeah, man, I just wanted to share that. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Till next time. Peace.